Rio, Rio, Rio.
I volunteered to move Ray to Tampa, Florida, so that my family and I could look after him. In 2011, Ray learned that he had stomach cancer and wasn't sure how much longer he had to live. Shortly after, he confessed to me a series of detailed accounts of what he participated in during his time as a police officer. At that time, Ray told me not to let him take this to his grave, but to please wait until he passed away to come forward with this information. By 2012, his cancer had gone into remission, and he lived until November 24th, 2020. For 10 years, I have carried this confession secretly in fear of what could happen to my family and myself if the government found out what I knew. He lived in constant fear for over 46 years, worried about what the NYPD and the FBI would do to him and his family if he had told the dark secrets that he had held that helped destroy Black leaders and Black power organizations. After Ray's passing, I found a confession letter that Ray had written and mailed to my father back in 2011. This letter details the FBI, and the NYPD's involvement in the assassination of Malcolm X, and how he was forced to betray his people. This letter helps me to understand the pain and guilt that Ray felt for the last 55 years. He conspired to help the NYPD assassinate Malcolm X. The false arrests and wrongful convictions of several leaders of CORE and the wrongful arrest of Black Panther members, including Tupac Shakur's mother, Afeni Shakur, which led to her giving birth to Tupac in prison. Unsure how to release this information and keep my family safe, I reached out to attorney Ben Crump, who advised me to place everything that I knew, along with this letter, into a factual memoir and publish it. By making this information available to the world, everyone will know at the same time, and I will no longer have anything to hide, nor can the government quiet me. On behalf of Ray, he wanted the world to know that he is deeply sorry. I hope that this information helps the Shabazz family to more clearly understand what happened to their father on that horrible day. As a Black man, I am disgusted to know that what happened 60 years ago is still going on today. We are living under J. Edgar Hoover's Jim Crow system of policing our black and brown people. He is the architect of these constant injustices and tactics against our people. As I stand before you today, I urge everyone who has a voice to speak up and stand up against corruption and systemic racism and policing from the top down. I believe that the United States of America is the greatest country on this planet. And with education, compassion, and the grace of God, we can fix these problems that we are facing. We are the example to the rest of the world. Let's get it together, people. God bless America. I am now going to give a copy of this letter to the Shabazz family. I intend to give a copy of this letter to Khalil Saeed's family, Walter Bowe's family, Thomas Johnson's family, Herb Collinger's family, and Afeni Shakur's family. These are the families of individuals that I am aware of who have been falsely convicted due to race actions. I know that there are others that were part of the Panther 21 trial. For 10 years, I've lived with this burden of this secret. I am relieved that I am able to share this truth with the world today. Before I give this letter to the daughters here, I will read the dying declaration letter of Ray Wood. This is the original letter that was sent to my father on February 9th of 2011. I'm going to read a copy. I've preserved it for the district attorney and whoever needs this for the court case to be able to exonerate the people that Ray was concerned that have been convicted because of his actions. It's dated January 25th, 2011. I, Raymond A. Wood, being of sound mind and body, wish to confess the following. I was a black New York City undercover police officer from April 1964 through May of 1971. I participated in actions that in hindsight were deplorable and detrimental to the advancement of my own black people. My actions on behalf of the New York City Police Department, Bossy, were done under duress and fear that if I did not follow the orders of my handlers, I could face detrimental consequences. Presently, I am aging with failing health. Recently, I have learned of the death of Mr. Thomas Johnson and are deeply concerned that with my death, his family will not be able to exonerate him after being wrongfully convicted in the killing of Malcolm X. The facts are as follows. April 17, 1964, I was hired by the New York City Police Department. Without training, I was immediately assigned to the Bossy Investigation Unit. After witnessing repeated brutality at the hands of my coworkers, in parentheses, police, I tried to resign. Instead, I was threatened with arrest by penning marijuana and alcohol trafficking charges on me if I did not follow through with the assignments. Under the direction of my handlers, I was told to encourage leaders and members of the civil rights groups to commit felonious acts. The Statue of Liberty bombing idea was created by my supervisor / handler. Using surveillance, the agency learned that Bo and Saeed were key players in Malcolm X's crowd control security detail. It was my assignment to draw the two men into a felonious federal crime so that they could be arrested by the FBI and kept away from managing Malcolm X's Autobahn ballroom door security on February 21st, 1965. On February 16th, 1965, the Statue of Liberty plot was carried out and the two men were arrested just days before the assassination of Malcolm. At that time, I was not aware that Malcolm X was the target. On February 21st, 1965, I was ordered to be at the Audubon Ballroom, where I was identified by witnesses while leaving the scene. Thomas Johnson was later arrested and wrongfully convicted to protect my cover and the secrets of the FBI and the NYPD. I have placed my full confession into the care of my cousin, Reginald Wood, Jr. I have requested this information be held until after I have passed away. It is my hope that this information is received with the understanding that I have carried these secrets with a heavy heart and remorsefully regret my participation in this matter. Raymond A. Wood.
Assalamu alaikum, family. It's your brother Landon X. This is Nation Town TV Live, a special quick edition of Nation Town TV Live. So let's get right to it. I won't be on long. Hit us with your questions and comments. However, just a quick point I want to make, and then we're going to get up out of here. Happy Savior's Day to everybody chiming in. I see you. But let me start off in the proper fashion before we get up out of here. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who mercifully appeared to us in the person of Master W. Fard Muhammad, the long-awaited Messiah of the Christians and the Mahdi of the Muslims. And he was born February 26, 1877, and this is the week in 2021 where we will celebrate Savior's Day. And I would be remiss without pointing out one of the most beautiful blessings that Master Fard Muhammad left us with. And I'm speaking of none other than his messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, that great preacher of freedom, justice, and equality, as put by his best student, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, our divine leader, teacher, guide, and criterion, and divine conduit. If you understand, look that word up, conduit. And in those three great names, I greet the Nation Town family in the words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language, Assalamu alaikum. Shout out to everybody chiming in. I'm just going to touch bases with you real quick. You just saw a message, and if you didn't see it, if you're just now chiming in, when this video is over in a minute, go back and watch it. I'm actually not going to say anything directly regarding the situation that was presented in that press conference. I mean, the man said what he said. He said what he said, and it speaks for himself. But let's talk about the aftermath of such a thing. Because here's the truth of the matter. We're going to talk about deceptive intelligence real quick and how to kill deceptive intelligence. It must be killed. It must be killed. I would see that as one of those 4 devils that we have to kill within self. But I know that there will be those who have been leaning on that same old, tired, weak talking point for so long. And it's not based on scholarship. It's not based on a real love for our brother. It's just based on deceptive intelligence. You want a reason to hate yourself. You want a reason to hate the Nation of Islam. You want a reason to hate Farrakhan because we have this divine habit of wanting the best for our people and the best lifestyle for our people. But before we get into it, let me just say this. If you really have an issue and you feel like you still have an issue, even though the facts have been presented to you since the 1970s, thanks to the Freedom of Information Act. And now the facts have been given to you from a brother, a retired police officer who recently died and gave a deathbed confession. Those of you who understand law and legalities, you know that a deathbed confession is the most trustworthy of all the confessions, because you headed out the door. You going out the door. You don't have nothing to worry about. But let me just say this: if you still feel some kind of way about the nation and that situation, y'all know how we do it in Nation Town TV. Keep that same energy with your enemy. Because if that's the criterion that you operate over, you know, I feel like the Nation of Islam did this or did that, so I don't want to support them. I don't want to be respectful of them. I definitely don't want to support anything that they do, anything that they represent. Well, just keep that same energy with the man, the beast, the devil who killed everybody. I mean, literally, everywhere he's been on this earth, he's left a trail of blood, oppression, slavery, rape, murder, theft, and he don't steal, DVD players and big screen TVs and jewelry. He steals the natural resources of every continent where the darker people of the earth live. He steals the darker people of the earth. He steals them. Does that stop you from going to the mall? Does that stop you from going to Starbucks? Does that stop you from going to Macy's? Does it stop you from buying Nikes? Does it stop you from watching Netflix? Does it stop you from supporting the things that same beast, that same man has brought to you? That's just a question. That's a question that we all have to answer. Otherwise, and if it doesn't stop you, then to put it in the most scholarly terms is deceptive intelligence. To put it in the most street terms is BS. And I think you know what BS stands for. But I've been using that terminology for a minute so far. Deceptive intelligence. What does it mean? I'm going to let a man tell you who put that word in my mind and put that understanding in my mind. I'm going to let the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan give you, in my opinion, the most comprehensive and simple and straight to the point understanding of what deceptive intelligence is.
I said, well, what is this devil? Now I want to, let's go looking for this devil. I said, the devil is the full manifestation of the negative influence of deceptive intelligence that causes one to rationalize disobedience to God, to what is right, to what is good, and to what is proper. Then what is the devil? And where is the devil? I want to bring him face to face with you so you don't have to look nowhere else. You can start first with the internal enemy.
There it is. That's deceptive intelligence. Now, I understand that some of you still have that disease in your heart about that particular situation that was spoken of in that press conference, but let me say this, and I pray that I'm as clear as I possibly can be. If you have a mentality that you want to blame the Nation of Islam whenever a bow tie or a headpiece is within 10 feet of a negative situation, then once again, I got to ask you to keep that same energy. When it comes to the proximity of the brothers and the sisters of the Nation of Islam and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when it comes to the many, and to be honest, countless positive situations that not only the Nation of Islam has been a part of, but has been the main catalyst of. I mean, let's just be fair. Let's just be fair. I mean, you know, people often, especially in this so-called woke era, you think that the antithesis or the alternative to what we believe is something like, I don't know, the Black Panther Party. Well, I hope you understand that the Black Panther Party itself was directly inspired by the Nation of Islam. Directly inspired. You may have just saw the movie regarding this brother. He was directly inspired in the city of Chicago, which has always been the headquarters of the Nation of Islam. Directly inspired, as well as Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale. In fact, Bobby Seale, pictured here on the left, was affiliated with the Nation of Islam for a moment and was inspired by the Nation of Islam. So inspired by the Nation of Islam and Malcolm that when Spike Lee did the movie Malcolm X, Bobby Seale did a cameo in the movie portraying a Muslim minister. Did you know that? Go back to the scene in Malcolm X where Malcolm first hit the streets as a minister, and he was teaching off of a step ladder and a soapbox. And there were 3 ministers in the streets outside of a church teaching. That was Bobby Seale, the brother who said that he was talking about, I guess he was talking about children's books, and he said the only thing black in the book was the spot on the dog's back. That was Bobby Seale, paying homage to the Nation of Islam and Malcolm. Let's go even deeper than that. Eldridge Cleaver, one of the great leaders of the Black Panther Party, was a registered member of the Nation of Islam. Bunchy Carter, the Los Angeles representative of the Black Panther Party, was not only in the Nation of Islam, he was raised in the Nation of Islam. He was what we call a junior FOI. Raised in the Muhammad University of Islam. And not only that, as Dr. King would say, there's something called the Black Panther 10-point program of what they want and what they believe that was brought to us in 1966. But prior to 1966, there was something called the Muslim program, what the Muslims want and what the Muslims believe. These two things did not just come out of a vacuum. One inspired the other. Of course, the one that came first would naturally inspire the other. The actual Black Panther Party has never made any doubts or rebuttals to the fact that they are directly inspired by the Nation of Islam. And speaking of Dr. King, I hope that you understand in your wokeness that the Dr. King that was assassinated was the Dr. King that was operating off of the marching orders given to him by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad to go after that check, to use Dr. King's words, to oppose the Vietnam War, which is what Dr. King did. The realization that he had integrated his people into a burning house, as he told his good friend Harry Belafonte. And as he actually broadcasted in a national interview, he felt that his dream had turned into a nightmare after he sat down and received wise counsel from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. A lot of what we know about the history of slavery came through this book and this miniseries, Roots by Alex Haley. When Alex Haley, before he co-wrote the autobiography of Malcolm X, he interviewed the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad for a newspaper article. And the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad challenged him to look into his roots, and he guaranteed him that he would find Islam in those roots. And that's why when you watch either Dispensation of the Roots documentary, and if you read the book, you will see that greeting that I greeted you with, Assalamu alaikum. Because what Alex Haley did is that he went into his roots and he found that his roots started in the Gambia, a nation that has been a Muslim nation, 90% Muslim nation, for at least 1,000 years. At least 1,000 years. You do the math on that, considering that chattel slavery truly began in 1555. Your poor educational system taught you that it began in 1619, so you do the math. Also, the greatest show of unity that the black man has ever seen, that the world has ever seen, the Million Man March. Direct catalyst was the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam. In this age of what they call mass incarceration in the prison industrial complex, no group has ever and will ever be more effective with a prison program as the Nation of Islam Prison Ministry. What you see right here is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Right behind him is my brother and mentor, the Western Regional Student Minister of the Nation of Islam, our dear brother, Abdul Malik Saeed Mohammed. But the brother in the middle with the white shirt, that's Brother Stanley Tookie Williams, the founder of the Crips Street Organization. There's never been a more effective program. In fact, they should turn the entire prison program over to the Nation of Islam. Sometimes y'all use it as a running joke. Call them jailhouse Muslims. But why should it be a joke, or why should you even be upset that a brother who went in as a murderer, went in as a rapist, went in as a thief, went in as a philanderer, and came out with a love of God in his heart and a love for his people in his heart? Nobody has caused that kind of effect on what you would probably call a criminal than the Nation of Islam. I've even been blessed in my short and illustrious time as a member of the Nation of Islam to be a part of the prison ministry on multiple occasions. I've been able to go to Lancaster Prison, as you can see right there in the background. It's a state prison here in California. That's my brother, Brother Billy. The brother that you see to my right, Brother Billy X, he was one of the inmates, and I hope he don't get mad at me for putting his business out, but it's a beautiful story. He was one of the inmates of this very prison from the day it was built. He was one of the first inhabitants of this plantation called the Lancaster Prison. And it was an honor for me to go back in there with him to help guide. And it was a packed house, by the way, a packed gym of young Aboriginal. Most of them were black, some were Hispanic. There was a couple of Asians scattered in there. And we were able to help give them the life-giving teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Just giving you a little bit of background, since we want to play that game. If a bow tie or headpiece is within 10 feet of the scene, then we get the blame. Well, let's get a little bit of credit. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. In this day and age, you go on Instagram, you go on social media, go on Facebook. All you hear about is generational wealth. Start a business, get an LLC, and I love that. I love that. Now some are taking it as just a hustle. But that's okay. We've hustled worse things. We've hustled poison before. So I can't be a hypocrite and be mad at our people hustling something that's really good for us. But long before life coaches, long before people talking about generational wealth, brothers with tattoos on their face talking about credit repair, long before that, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was teaching the necessity to do for self or suffer the consequences. Long before that, he gave a beautiful blueprint, an example of black-owned businesses, an $80 million empire built on businesses like this, a black supermarket. $80 million empire at a time where the average black man couldn't even pick his own seat on a city bus. He built an $80 million empire. A school system for our children. You complain about the schools? We've got the solution for that. You complain about little girls and how they grow up looking at certain artists, certain Nicki Minaj's and Megan Thee Stallion. Many years ago, 80 plus years ago, we started schools for our children, and it hasn't stopped. We're still in the business of educating our children. Muhammad University school systems all over the world. Yeah, you heard that right. The world. Ain't nothing changed. He called on us to own our own farms so we can supply our basic needs to our own people and ourselves, and we've done that. Muhammad's economic blueprint, which if it be the grace of Allah, I'm going to go into detail for the sake of Savior's Day week. I'm going to go into detail this coming Tuesday. But we've reacquired many of the thousands of acres of farmland that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad acquired. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan recouped it. And to this day, we are producing top-notch organic foods, staple goods for our people. I'm waiting on some coffee and some honey right now to come through straight from my nation. In fact, 75 to 80% of the goods in my household come from the nation and or black owned. Personal care products, everything that you need, air freshener, body lotion, body oil, laundry, detergent, which reminds me, this is all brought to you by NationTownStore.com. NationTownStore.com. I won't be long, but I will be strong. And I got to really belabor this point. Because like I said, if you're looking for that deceptive intelligence, and let's just pretend that it's not deceptive intelligence for a minute. You think you have a valid point. Okay, well, that goes both ways. Let's go both ways on this. Furthermore, and this is to my so-called Orthodox Muslim brothers and sisters, even especially those who are actually black, Aboriginal, born and raised in America. I see you in the comment section making a fool out of yourself, especially on YouTube. You have a problem with point number 12. You have a problem with Master Fard Muhammad. You have a problem with the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad being the messenger of Allah based on your own misunderstanding of what you would think and what you claim is your book and your theology. But you know who you sound like? Let me go into the Bible for a minute. In the book of John, I believe it's chapter 8, when he was wrangling with the Jews and he said, "You are of your father, the devil." You sound just like the devil. These far right-wing extremists protesting the building of mosques, protesting Islam in general. You sound just like your daddy. You sound just like, you look just like your daddy every time. You running around social media arguing about nothing. This is what you look like. Your master has taught you well. And last but not least, in the monumental book that I call the Black Man's Bible, it's just what I call it. You ain't got to call it that, but I call it the Black Man's Bible. In this book, if you go to page 66, the messenger kind of hits us with a gut check. He says, and I quote, that this fear of the white slave master has caused you to love them in a crazy kind of way. You, my dear people, are like a woman desperately in love with a man who does not love her. Therefore, this love is blind. This man can beat, torture, ravage, humiliate, shame, and mock, but she will yet still love him. And even when someone tries to tell her that this man is no good for her and certainly does not love her, she will yet love him and will become angered and defend such a man. This is a very sad thing, but a very true picture of the so-called Negroes. They love their tormentors. Why am I bringing this up? Last episode, we talked about the supreme wisdom, where the question was asked, why does the devil keep our people illiterate? And the answer is posed so that he can use them for a tool and also a slave. A tool and also a slave. You know, I was just pondering this morning over my cup of coffee. And I got to thinking about that tool part. Because a particular tool came to mind when it comes to Black people, Aboriginal people, Muslims, who have such a inexplicable self-hate in their heart when it comes to an organization that almost 100 years has been dedicated to the betterment of our people. See, every time when I see my people in a certain condition, I always think about how they got that way, instead of just judging them on face value. And the truth of the matter is explained in this supreme wisdom lesson. You've been used as a tool and a slave, but what kind of tool? It's a lot of tools. Go to Home Depot, you'll see a lot of tools. But one tool comes to mind. I can't quite remember what kind of tool. I really can't. But when I look at COINTELPRO, when I look at the FBI as explained in the press conference that we opened with, when I look at what they did to our brother Fred Hampton, what they did to the Nation of Islam, and now that we know what they did to Malcolm, a particular tool comes to mind. We know what a slave is, but a particular tool comes to mind. I just can't remember. I can't remember what kind of tool that we look like when we help this federal government do something that it's been trying to do for almost 100 years. When you running around social media, running around the street, well, you don't really run it. You don't come in our face with it. That wouldn't be intelligent. But oh boy, you really like running your mouth on social media. You come off like a tool and a slave. So I just got a question for all the tools out there. Ain't you tired of being a tool? Aren't you tired of being J. Edgar Hoover's tool? Ain't you tired of being the federal government's tool? See, I just stepped out of the grave, a couple of decades ago. So y'all have to pardon me. Aren't you tired? Aren't your knees dirty? Aren't your knees tired? Don't your knees hurt? Get up off your knees. Stop being a tool and also a slave. I want to shout out everybody that's chiming in. I see you, Brother Mike. I see you, Sister Ina. I see you, Sister Shauna Joy, executive producer. I see you, Brother Hakeem, Brother Adam, Brother Charles, Brother Daryl, Brother Kosan. Thank you for that reminder. Sister and Brother Freddie. I see you all, family. This is going to be a very short episode. It won't be our normal exegesis. But let me close out again by giving you a very warm and happy Savior's Day. It's still happy. This is a wonderful time for our people. It's very, it can be scary. It can be confusing. But what you're really looking at is the changing of a guard. So we will celebrate Savior's Day. Go to NOI.org starting this Thursday. There's going to be an entire weekend of events. Some of them will be private for registered believers. Some of them will be made public. So just keep your eye out this coming weekend for that information. And just like my brother, student minister Nuri Muhammad said last week, public service announcement, do not take the experimental COVID-19 vaccine. Do not take it. It's experimental by their own words. I had a scare where my own mother was struggling with some health issues, and it was first believed that they injected her with it. By the grace of Allah, it turns out that they didn't. And special shout out to my sisters back home in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that are looking out for her, making sure that it doesn't happen. So all of those who have family that are hospitalized for reasons other than COVID-19, make sure that you're checking on them. You know, even if they just going in for a sprained ankle, you know, they trying to slip that in on us and use us as the guinea pigs. See, we got bigger fish to fry than hating on each other based on innuendo and deceptive intelligence. But I had to deal with that deceptive intelligence. And I'm going to leave y'all as I greeted y'all in the words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language. Assalamu alaikum.
I was told to deliver this message.